I know it might be a little bit early for Easter, but to me, it's never too early to start making some new DIY projects. What do you think? Do you think it's too early to start crafting for Easter? I don't think so. I like to craft early because that way I can get the projects done, and that way I have more time to spend with my family and not feel so rushed and so hurried. And I want to make sure that you have plenty of time to do these crafts as well. And thankfully, the Dollar Tree that I go to has been really good at stocking a lot of different things that I can use for my Easter DIY projects. I hope your Dollar Tree is the same, and I hope that you're able to find stuff so that you can make these projects as well. So with that, let's go ahead and get started on some Dollar Tree DIY Easter decor projects that you can make right now.
So these are a new egg that I've seen at Dollar Tree this year, and what I want to do is make this have like a raised effect. So I'm going to take some different stems that I've been saving and collecting, and I'm going to cut off each of the individual leaves, and I'm going to just start gluing pieces of these leaves onto the egg. So I just used my hot glue gun and I glued on different stems, and I should say that these are all plastic. So I'm going to focus on one side of the egg with different leaves and different stems from flowers that I've saved over the years, actually, just collecting them because I knew there would be something that I could use them for in the future. And there really wasn't any rhyme or reason. I just started applying leaves and stems, and again, only to one side of the egg. And once I had all of the leaves in place, then I came back with some chalk paint, and this is Dixie Belle chalk paint in Fluff. And I applied the paint to the side of the egg that had all of the leaves. The chalk paint is really nice because it coats the plastic leaves really well. So I did use kind of a pouncing type motion with my paintbrush just to make sure I got all of those leaves covered up and there was nothing that was showing. And then when I was finished with that, I went ahead and painted the rest of the egg with the chalk paint. I did also come back and paint the edges so they will all have the same color of that white chalk paint. And after it had dried, I came back with another chalk paint. This is kind of a cream color. I cannot remember what color this is, but I went over the egg again with this cream colored chalk paint. So this is probably like an ivory color. And I did the same process. So I started by painting where the leaves are placed onto the egg. And then I painted the rest of the egg with that ivory colored paint. And once that second coat of paint had dried, I did come back with some white acrylic paint and did a little bit of dry brushing, especially on the side where the leaves are. I just put a little bit of paint onto the paintbrush and brushed it across the surface. I still want to see some of that darker color come through, so I'm not doing a solid coat of paint. From my understanding, this is how you dry brush paint. It's going to give a little bit of shading and shadow to your project, and it's definitely going to give it some more texture, which is what I wanted to do with this Easter egg. And once I was finished painting the egg, I did come back with some more fake greenery, some different stems and different flowers, because I wanted to add a little bit of something extra to the egg. At first I thought about adding a bow, but I didn't necessarily want to add that to this project. I have a lot of Easter eggs that I am going to be working with, and I wanted to give a different look to each of the eggs. And I thought this would be a really good way to start by using some different faux greenery and these flowers. And these flowers actually came from Temu. I think they're called ranunculus. Is that how you say it? But I really like how that looks. And look at that. It stands up so well on its own. And the finished project, well, I think it looks really nice. What do you think? Now I have another one of these smaller Easter eggs from Dollar Tree, and these are really nice because they stand up on their own. You don't have to add a bottom to it. It will stand up all by itself. And I'm going to start by putting a coat of Dixie Belle chalk paint on this egg. So I'm going to start on the sides, and then I'm going to paint the front of the egg as well. And I think you can see that the egg, it does have a little bit of a wood grain finish to it. That is not solid throughout the egg. That is only on the surface. So if you're going to sand it, I would be very careful that you don't sand away all of the wood grain. For the next part, I'm going to be using some pink acrylic paint, but I want this to have more of a watercolor look, so I am going to add in a little bit of water. So this will almost be like a pink stain. And the reason I'm doing a pink stain is because I have all of these spindles that I bought from Etsy. Now these were for a different project, but I thought they would look really nice on the Dollar Tree egg because they have lots of different Easter designs on them and spring type designs. But I want those to show, and that was why I wanted the pink paint to be a little more opaque, I guess, or a little more see-through, more like a watercolor, because I still want to see all of the individual designs that are on these spindles. I don't know why, but I am totally hooked on these spindle crafts, so much so that I'm going to have to figure out how to make my own. And while the spindles were finishing drying, it's not going to take very much time at all. I did come across the egg a little bit with some sandpaper just to smooth everything out and see if I can get a little bit of a more rustic appearance on the edge of the egg by just sanding away some of that paint. Then I came back with some distressing ink and I used that on the edges of the egg. Now I have this little one and I wanted to try this out and see what it would look like if I used that directly on the egg instead of using my blending tool. I think this is a fun way to use these distressing inks, and you never know unless you try. That's why I really enjoy doing things like that with crafting. I did come back and use a little bit of that distressing ink on some of the spindle pieces as well. Once I was finished with the distressing ink, then I put the spindles onto the egg. And this was fun because I played around with each of the individual spindle pieces to make sure that they would fit onto the egg. I wanted to make sure that I had the right spindle in the right place on the egg. So each one will not hang off the edges of the egg, and you can see all of the different designs. I really love these spindles. They're so pretty to me. And once I was happy with the configuration of each of the spindles, then I did come back with some Dollar Tree wood glue and I secured each of the spindles onto the egg. There are a lot of different Etsy shops that you can find these spindles, and I will leave a link in the description box of where I purchased these. Isn't that pretty? I love the raised appearance that these spindles give to this egg, and I think it looks really nice being plain. Yes, I could put a bow on it, but again, I have a lot of different Easter eggs and some are going to have bows, so I wanted to have some that were just the egg itself so I could take in the beauty of something simple. Oh, now this is a fun one. So I found this plaque at Dollar Tree a while ago. They do still have them. And I just took some white acrylic paint and I painted the entire plaque with the white acrylic paint. You could use chalk paint. You could use any color that you wanted to. But for what I'm going to be doing, the white I think was the best choice. So I did a coat of white paint, making sure it was nice and smooth onto the plaque. And when that was dry, I came back with my little tiny hand sander and I sanded the edges just to give it a more rustic and distressed appearance. Next, I took some Mod Podge and I put that onto the plaque and then set it off to dry. Now here is the fun part. So I found this really cute carrot print on Creative Fabrica and I cut it to the size of the plaque. And now I am putting it onto the plaque and I'm using my tiny little ironing tool. And what this is doing is reactivating the Mod Podge. So this is a form of decoupage, not quite the same as a lot of people do. But what I like about this is it makes it nice and smooth and there are no wrinkles in the print. Look at how perfect that is. No wrinkles. And I should let you know that that is a Teflon sheet. That is what I put over top of the print to protect it while I was ironing it. Now I could have left it plain like this. I think it would look nice, but I did want to add a little bit of color. So I took some acrylic paint markers and just added in some colors. So for the carrots, of course, I did a little bit of orange. And then I added some green for the tops of the carrots. And I wanted to make this look a little more aged, so I came back with some distressing ink and used that all the way around the sides of the plaque. Now I was trying to make this look like an old antique style seed package. That was the look that I was going for. Now here is one time where I am going to use a bow. So I took a little bit of jute twine and I secured that to the bottom portion of my plaque, and I just used my hot glue gun to secure it to the back of the plaque. And next I tied just a simple shoestring bow and I secured that to the center of the jute twine that was already on the plaque. And that is the project. How easy was that? I love finding simple ways to add different elements to my decorating, especially for the holidays. And I think this is so cute. And I think it goes perfect with my Easter decor, or I can even use it for just spring decorating. Now I had this plaque that I got from Michael's a while ago and I was going to use it for something different, but I decided I'm going to use it for this project. So I took some gel stain that I got at Hobby Lobby and this was only 69 cents. This stuff is so much fun to work with. So I just gel stained the top portion of this little sign. So it's almost like it has a frame, but I'm not going to be using this as a sign. This is going to be the base for my project. And I used the gel stain basically on the frame, on the outer side of the frame, as well as the inner portion. But I did not use that stain on the bottom. Because I'm going to be securing a bunny onto the bottom, and I'm not sure the glue would stick as well if I would have used that stain on the bottom. Now here is another Dollar Tree wood cutout, and this is a bunny. These are so pretty. I love these. So I took more of that same gel stain and I used it on the outer edge of the bunny. Then I came back and used the same gel stain on the front of the bunny. And once the stain had dried, I came back with some chalk paint and I painted the bunny white. So basically just painted the front of the bunny as well as the sides that I had already painted with the stain. Now I did go ahead and put the stain on the back of the bunny as well, just in case that shows in my project. And then I used my hand sander to remove some of that white paint because I do want to see some of that darker stain coming through. I want this bunny to look a little bit aged and rustic because I just love that look. It works really well for my decorating. But the bunny was still a little bit too white, so I came back with some distressing ink and added that all the way around the edges of the bunny. And I think you can see where I used that sander and really made sure to use the edge of it to get some deeper creases onto the rabbit. It was still a little bit too white for me, so I did come back with some Dixie Belle antiquing wax, and I used that to darken up the rabbit just a little bit more. And I thought it would look nice to have the outline be a little bit darker too. I do want to see some definition of the bunny's ears, so I used a little bit of Dollar Tree blush to make it a little bit pink inside of his ears would be. Then I took some tiny wood turnings and I put that onto the bottom of my picture frame. That's just going to rise it up just a little bit. And my bunny is going to go right into the center. So I took some Dollar Tree wood glue and put that on the bottom edge of the bunny and then secured the bunny into the frame. Next, I came back with some remnants of some floral foam, and this is also from Dollar Tree. And I cut out a piece to fit on the back side of the bunny as well as the front. And I really wanted to have pink tulips for this project, but I only had yellow ones. So I took some acrylic paint and I painted some different tulips with pink acrylic paint. I used different shades of pink to see if I could make these look more like, of course they're going to be faux tulips, but I've really had good results with painting fake flowers with acrylic paint. So for the front of the bunny, I found a succulent that I liked and I poked that into the floral foam, and yes, that is from Dollar Tree. Then I had this grass and I cut individual little pieces, and I also put that into the floral foam as well. Then I had a couple of different colors of Easter eggs, and I hot glued those around the bottom edge of my little bunny display. Then I took the tulips and I put those into the floral foam that is behind the bunny to make it look like the bunny is in between all of the flowers, which is so pretty. And I wasn't sure if this was going to turn out or not, but actually I think it looks pretty nice. Now, I had some random Easter eggs from Dollar Tree. I think these were part of a garland, but I wanted to see if I could give them more of a textured look. So I just cut out some scrapbooking paper about the same size as the eggs. And I had a larger one that I took some similar paper and I did the same thing. Now remember earlier when I took the Mod Podge and put it onto the project and then using the Teflon sheet I ironed on over top of it? Well, I'm doing the same thing with each of these eggs. I'm just going to use my tiny heat press and just go around the egg a little bit, and that will activate the Mod Podge and it helps the scrapbooking paper to stick in place. And I don't have to worry that I'm going to get any wrinkles or ridges in my project. I repeated that with all 3 of the eggs, and then I came back and sized down the paper a little bit more so it's closer to the edges of the egg. And again, I did this with all 3 eggs, so the 2 smaller ones and the larger egg as well. And then to get that nice edge, I came back with my hand sander and just sanded away all of the excess paper. By using this little hand sander, it makes it really nice to get a very clean edge all the way around whatever it is that you're working on. Now, I found this lace on Temu of all places. It's actually really nice lace, but it was a little bit big for the project that I'm working on. So I ended up cutting out the center portion of the lace, and I'm going to be using a little bit of it for each of the eggs. I'm going to do a different pattern with the same lace on each individual egg. I thought one of the smaller eggs, this would look so pretty on, and then I used a little bit smaller of a piece of the lace on the other small egg. Then I just took some craft glue, put that onto the back of the lace, and then I secured each piece of lace to the eggs. I did use a little bit of hot glue on the back side. But for the front, I did the craft glue because it dries clear. And I just repeated that same process on each of the Easter eggs. And I wanted to try and stack these eggs so that they can actually stand up on their own. So I took some tumbling tower blocks and I secured those to the larger egg. I did one in the front and then I did one on the back side. And then I took a smaller egg and secured it to the front of the larger egg using that same tumbling tower block. Then I secured another tumbling tower block to the larger egg. And I did end up using a couple of these wood cubes because I want the other smaller egg to come off to the front just a little bit more than the first small egg that I attached. So this is going to help give a layered look to these more flat style of eggs that Dollar Tree seems to have a lot of. Now here I'm actually going to finally use a bow. So I took some ribbon and it was wired, but I didn't want the wired edges. So I removed the wire edge and this is just giving me kind of a organza type looking bow. But I wanted to incorporate a little bit of color. So I took some Dollar Tree ribbon, made a simple shoestring bow, and then I attached that to the larger bow. That's just so pretty. And I did attach a couple of tails to the bottom of the organza bow too. Then I took some of that wire edge that I had twisted around a paintbrush and I added that to the bow. And then I took some hot glue and secured that organza bow to the center of my large Easter egg. And this was just a project that I wanted to try and see if I could make this work. I do like how it turned out. I think I might do it a little bit differently in the future. I'm not quite sure that I do like that large egg leaning so far. I almost think it would look better if it was kind of more up and down. So perpendicular or like facing the way it should be. Does that make sense? Now I found these large Easter eggs at Dollar Tree. And of course I have this jute twine that I also found at Dollar Tree. But what I want to do is see if I can make a basket with the bottom of the Easter egg. So this bottom portion of the Easter egg, it will stand up on its own. So I'm just going to take some jute twine and I'm going to cover the entire surface of the egg. I'm not going to use the top portion of the egg for now, but as I'm sitting here thinking about it, I have a perfect project for the top of that egg that I will have to share with you in a future video. But for now, I'm just focusing on putting the jute twine all the way around that egg. So I'm just going to use some hot glue and line up the jute twine and basically wrap it around the egg. And I don't have it around the very top because I'm going to come back with some larger twine around the top and the bottom of the egg to help really make this look like a basket. But the center portion of it is going to just be this thin jute from Dollar Tree. It really doesn't take that long to wrap this all the way around. It might seem like it does, but I don't know. I kind of enjoy it. It's fun to make something so pretty and so perfect. Now, once I had the main body portion of the basket or the egg covered, then I came back with some larger twine, and I got this from Amazon, and I wrapped that around the top edge of the egg. I did go around the top several times because I really want that top portion to stand out so that you'll be able to see the difference. And once I had the top done, then I turned my attention to the bottom of the egg. And I think you can see it really is starting to look like a basket. So I repeated that same process that I did on the top. I wrapped the larger jute around the bottom edge of the egg. And again, I did this several times just to make this pop out and stand out and make it look like the bottom of the basket. Now, once I was done with the basket portion, I took a floral stem because it has really nice bendable wire, and I took the smaller jute twine and I wrapped that all the way around that wire stem. I did have it in a U type shape before I started wrapping the jute. because this is going to be the handle for my basket. So I thought it would be easier to have it in that handle shape from the beginning. And once I had completely covered the stem with the jute, then I came back the opposite direction to have it build up and be a second layer of the jute. It definitely looks like a handle to a basket now. And then I just cut away the excess jute. I used a little bit of hot glue on either side of the U shape. And then just secured it inside the egg, or inside what is now my basket. But I did want my basket to have a bow on the front, so I took some raffia and I just made a simple bow. And then I secured the bow to the front of the basket. I love the difference in the color between the raffia and the twine. I think that's so pretty. I did want to add a little bit of something extra, so I took a heart-shaped button and I just put that into the center of the bow. And then I wanted to put some carrots into my basket, but I don't really like the tops of these carrots from Dollar Tree, so I did go ahead and remove all of the tops. And I think you can see the stems over on the side. Well, those are going to be the tops for my carrots. So I just cut the individual stems off of the original stem. And then using a little bit of hot glue onto the stem portion, I just pushed the new stems down into the carrot. I don't know about you, but I think those carrots look a lot better. Then I took some Spanish moss and I put that into the basket. And then I took a couple of the carrots and put them inside. Isn't that adorable? Oh my gosh, I am so happy with how this project turned out. I think of all of the projects, this one is by far my most favorite. And by simply removing the greenery from the top of the carrots and adding in some different type of faux greenery, I think it makes the carrots look a lot better. Even when my husband saw the carrots in the video when I was editing it, he was like, those look like little carrots. I didn't realize they weren't real. So for myself, I think that is definitely a win when my husband actually comments on something that I've crafted.
So what did you think? Were those fun? I had so much fun making all of those crafts, and I have a lot more that I want to share with you too. I hope I've inspired you to start making some new decor pieces for your home for Easter this year. And if I have inspired you, I would be so grateful if you would take a moment and hit that subscribe button. And if you click the bell notification, you'll get an alert when I have a new video coming out too. I think you have to go through a couple extra steps, but hit the bell notification, then you can decide how often you want to be notified by me that I've got a new video for you to watch. There's been a lot of them lately, and I have a lot more to share with you.
To a place where we don't know.